question I wanted to ask you was about the kind of culture of pitching over the phone or by email or by Twitter in the US. What works here, and how do you think that's different from the UK?
When I was first sort of starting, it was quite necessary to call people, and I think it's less so these days, but it's still very effective. However, that said, there are certain journalists out there that are very point blank, don't call me, email me, and they will not answer their phone, and they actually will get grumpy with you if you do, so don't call them. But it's definitely changing, and other mediums like Twitter and there are journalists that now say, pitch me on Twitter instead of that. So I would say a large majority of the opportunities we open up and the pitches we send that are really effective and open up new relationships are done digitally, and the phone conversations are definitely helpful. I think actually the phone conversations for a lot of the journalists that we tend to have that are really valuable now happen after we've had the initial sort of one or two opportunities over email, and they get to know us, and now they'll take our calls, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So to the extent that you can kind of meet them where they want to be, which seems to be more the digital and the more emerging things, then that seems to work.
And I've also found with the business press, especially, so the equivalent of like our nationals, what we found is it's almost near impossible to get their attention without getting them on the phone, but then it's almost near impossible to get them on the phone. So but a lot of people in the agency here, they've built up the relationships with those business reporters through telephone. And there's a big push from senior management at March, especially pushing the kind of middle managers and more junior people to get really comfortable pitching over the phone. Yeah. It's really important. And because it has gone away a little bit, as Nate was saying, we're trying to bring it back because it's so important.
I think it's incredibly important in the UK, and we would always, if it was a story that was worth pitching pitch it over the phone. Yes. I think.
So no email at all. You would just call, or would you do an email first?
Follow up with an
That's
email.
exactly what we do.
Yeah,
so,
actually, I don't know. I mean, sometimes we do it. A lot of times we do it the other way. Is the first sort of round is often emails.
Yeah. No, that's what I meant.
We've actually found a lot of journalists complaining that they get a press release and then a call to say, "Have you seen my press release?" or to pitch it in. And so we tend to try to do it the other way around. Okay. And that seems to work pretty well. I mean, I guess where the US is probably quite different from the UK is we have more of an opportunity in London to meet with journalists more often, whereas because your media, I assume, are more spread out, there's less of that kind of networking involved. And I do think that actually, face-to-face meetings and speaking to someone on the phone is, in terms of building a relationship, it is sort of still invaluable. But you need to learn to do these other things as well, like tweeting pitching a story in 140 characters is quite a skill.
That is a skill. That is definitely a skill.
I feel a lunch and learn coming up.
Yeah, there you go.